The summer afternoon was perfect for a backyard barbecue. The grill was sizzling, the smell of burgers and ribs drifted through the air, and neighbors gathered around with plates in hand. Music played softly, kids ran across the lawn, and laughter echoed across the block. Everything was going smoothly until the HOA president arrived, dressed in his usual collared shirt and clutching a clipboard. He marched straight through the gate without so much as a greeting. The mood shifted instantly as he scanned the yard with disapproval, his eyes locking on my grill as if it were contraband. Without hesitation, he raised his voice, declaring that my grill was a violation of HOA rules. He waved his clipboard like a badge of authority, pointing at the setup in front of dozens of guests. Neighbors exchanged awkward glances, while some shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to continue eating or stand back. The timing couldn't have been worse, right in the middle of the party. I could feel the tension ripple through the crowd. The president seemed convinced he had the upper hand, expecting compliance, but he hadn't counted on how the neighborhood actually felt about his rules. For months, whispers about the president's strictness had circulated. He fined families for leaving holiday decorations up too long, scolded kids for chalk drawings on sidewalks, and even complained about lawn furniture being too colorful. People had tolerated it, afraid of rocking the boat. But now his attempt to ruin a community gathering was happening in plain view. The smell of barbecue hung heavy in the air as silence spread across the yard. It was the perfect setting for neighbors to finally see his pettiness firsthand. And one by one, their quiet frustration began to turn into open defiance. A neighbor at the buffet line shook his head, refusing to step away from the grill. Others continued filling their plates, deliberately ignoring the president's rant. Someone turned the music louder, as if to drown out his voice. The HOA president's face reddened, realizing the crowd wasn't falling in line. He stammered, insisting the rules were absolute, but the very people he governed were enjoying themselves too much to care. The party atmosphere, instead of collapsing, grew stronger. His words no longer held weight. What he thought would be his moment of authority was quickly slipping into humiliation. The president tried again, demanding that I shut everything down immediately. But instead of siding with him, neighbors spoke up. They reminded him that grills were never banned in the bylaws, only open fire pits. Others laughed, pointing out how many block parties had used the same setup without issue. The president looked flustered, flipping through his clipboard, as though the words he needed might magically appear. But there was nothing to back his claim. For the first time, the community openly challenged him, and his grip on control loosened with every objection that came his way. By now, the party had transformed into a united front. People who rarely spoke at meetings were standing tall, questioning the president's motives. Some even reminded him of his own hypocrisy, recalling the times he hosted gatherings without HOA approval. The president grew visibly uncomfortable as he realized the tide had turned. His authority was crumbling not in a boardroom but in a backyard filled with laughter, food, and camaraderie. What was meant to be his moment of dominance had backfired. The more he protested, the more he looked like the unwelcome guest at the very party he tried to stop. Defeated, the HOA president finally lowered his clipboard. His attempts to control the situation had only made him the center of ridicule. Neighbors whispered, some openly chuckled, while others clinked their cups together in mock celebration. The smell of smoked ribs filled the air as someone shouted for seconds, further drowning out his presence. With his authority gone and his pride shattered, he had no choice but to leave. Red-faced, he turned and walked back out the gate, his silence louder than his earlier protests. The community, united for once, had chosen laughter and fellowship over his petty rules. As the gate swung shut behind him, the party roared back to life. Music played, kids laughed, and the grill continued sizzling. Neighbors lingered longer than expected, enjoying the atmosphere not just for the food, but for the victory. The HOA president had come to shut us down, but instead he had exposed his own weakness. From that day forward, his clipboard carried less weight, his demands taken less seriously. My barbecue had become more than a party, it was a turning point. The grill stayed, the neighbors grew closer, and the president's power was left smoldering in the ashes.